Why do people opt for sex selection? Sex selection is a hot topic in the industry, and more often I get asked whether the embryo to be transferred is a male or female embryo. That might come across as a joke from a lot of people I interact with. But deep down within, there is a deeper desire or a need to know the sex of the child before the child is born. So sex selection is a process whereby an expecting parent or mother opt to choose a definitive sex of their preconceived child in vitro or in utero. During an IVF process, most patients or most people would have the option to select the sex of the child, of the embryo they want transfer back, whether it's male or female. They also have the option not to do so. If they want to do so, that comes with an additional cost. There are so many reasons why people want to choose the sex of their children. In this video, we'll focus on 3 main reasons why people opt for sex selection. 1. Medical reasons. So when thinking of medical sex selection, the practitioner would consider things like the quality of the life of the baby when born with a type of genetic disorder, and they also want to think about at what age will the anticipated disorder manifest. When considering medical sex selection, there are so many things that come to play. And also, they also think about the burden of care placed on the parents with a specific disorder. Another disease condition that might warrant sex selection to be done is things like X-linked hyper-IgM. Just if you don't know what X-linked hyper-IgM is, it only affects boys, right? So in this type of disorder, your immune system cannot produce a specific response to viruses or bacteria. So basically your immune system is paralyzed. The first 6 months of your life, you're fine because your immune system is supported by your mom's transferred or conferred immunity. Whereas after 6 months, you start experiencing every sort of sickness, like from anything you touch that has bacteria, you're affected because your body is not able to make antibodies towards specific bacteria or viruses. So funny enough, or interestingly, this affects only boys because a woman can be a carrier, but a man cannot. So we find that certain patients that fall in this category would want to obviously have sex selection done to prevent this sort of sickness from affecting their male offspring, female offspring, and in some cases they might want to do what we call pre-implantation genetic screening to avoid all those to avoid this specific type of disorder. Secondly, sex selection is done for cultural and societal beliefs. So in some countries, especially in East and South Asia, parents' preference for son is on the rise due to the belief that sons would continue the family line, make more money to take care of the parents, and they are readily recruitable to fight in wars, and they can take care of the parents when they are old. In some parts of India, for example, male children are preferred due to the expense of dowry, and in China due to deep-rooted patriarchal system. In some parts of Africa, a married woman is tagged as incomplete if he or she doesn't have a male child. So even if you have like five female kids in an African home, you're still considered an outsider. So basically, a male child grounds your marriage. For a sense of security, people do opt for sex selection. Final reason why people opt for sex selection is family balancing. Although children are the pride of a family, at times gender imbalance can create a feeling of dissatisfaction and the desire to have a missing gender in one's family. This at times creates a lot of psychological pressure on couples, and just the need to have that missing gender in your family can, at times lead to a financial crisis, because there have been cases where people have 5 boys in their home and they keep on, reproducing till they find a female child, and that might take them 3 or 4 more times to achieve. So basically you have 8 male and 1 female child, and in some cases it might be as simple as couples wanting to just have 2, and if they have a male, they just want the second one to be female, and they can go extra mile to get that done. So when it comes to family balancing, it's just a social issue, and at times if you really need it, it's done. You can go to the US or to countries where sex selection is legal, and you can get it done. Just bear in mind that you cannot have sex selection done in Canada and in the UK. There are so many ethical dilemmas as to why there are need and demands to select the sex of your preborn child. The argument remains to what the social impact of this decision is. Does that affect gender balance? Does that promote gender division? And a couple might have a strong preference about a gender of their offspring, some of whom might use abortion or embryo selection to realize this goal, or be unhappy with the children of undesired gender. So yeah, it happens. And because of the magnitude of this desire for a child of a particular gender, that could result to selective abortion, or the couple might decide not to reproduce at all just because they are afraid of having another child of the same sex that they've had before. One might say there is no social justice behind sex selection, and you can also say it's sexual discrimination because women in the society have been disadvantaged solely based on their gender. It's a very complicated argument, and I would actually like to hear what you guys think about this topic. Should sex selection be done, and who should be allowed to do sex selection? If you've enjoyed this video, please subscribe and share this with a friend who might benefit from this topic, and feel free to leave a comment below. I would like to know your take on this topic, and if there are topics you'd like me to cover in the future related to IVF, please let me know below, and I'll be sure to get back to you on that at some point. Thank you for watching, and cherish life.